Hello, my dears. How are you? I am glad to see you again in my lesson. Dear students, look at the screen. Let's watch a short conversation story and try to guess our today's topic.
Okay, so we have 3 options for our vacation this summer. We can go to a beach resort, to the Pandaland amusement park, or we can go camping at the lake. What do you think? We need to make a decision today.
I want to go to Pandaland. It's more exciting than a boring old beach or camping.
Well, honey, Pandaland is more expensive than the other two.
And it will be more crowded. A nice camping trip at the lake will be much quieter. Camping? I want to go to the beach resort. The hotel will be nicer, and the pool will be so much cleaner than a smelly lake.
Camping would be cheaper, but the hotel beds would be more comfortable than sleeping bags.
True, but the resort will be hotter, busier, and less interesting. Who wants to sit in the sun by a pool all day?
I do. If you want a more interesting vacation, they have jet skis, scuba diving, and, ocean fishing trips.
Now that you mention it, I've always wanted to go scuba diving. And fishing in the ocean sounds more exciting than in a lake. Okay, I'm convinced.
I'm not. I want to go to Pandaland. It's closer than the other two, so we will get there faster.
You know the resort has a water slide, right?
It does?
And a huge playground. Bigger and better than any playground you've ever seen.
Really? I'm more interested than I was before. Can I jump on the hotel bed?
We'll see, honey. Maybe, if it's stronger than your bed that you broke last month.
What do you think, kiddo? We can go to Pandaland next year.
You promise? Okay, the resort sounds more fun than camping, that's for sure.
Great, we all agree. Now we have to decide how to get there. We can fly, take a bus, or drive our car.
I don't want to drive. Gas prices are worse than ever, and it's more tiring than planes or buses. It's my vacation too.
Okay. So, should we fly or take a bus?
Ugh, I don't want to take a bus. It will be a longer trip.
Yeah, and planes are way cooler.
Let me take a look. It will be much harder to find good tickets if we decide to fly. Buses are way easier to book and there are lots of available seats on the dates we want.
Great! Buses are cheaper as well, and the resort is already more expensive than the camping trip.
I agree. Kids, buses are slower, but the scenery will be more beautiful.
And I can stretch my legs.
Dad is getting older.
Ha ha, very funny. You know, on the bus we will see cool animals beside the highway.
Will we?
Yes, and we will stop for ice cream.
Yay! Ice cream! Okay, the bus sounds way better than flying.
Traitor.
Dear students, as you see in this video, some words are written in blue. What do you think? Why they are written in blue? Yes, you are right. They are adjectives, but what kind of adjectives are they? You don't know? I know it. Today, our topic is about comparatives and the superlatives. Look at the screen, my dears, and now I will explain you what comparatives and superlatives are and how to properly use comparatives and superlatives. Look at the screen and pay attention to the rules. Look at these examples. Let's go by car. It's cheaper. Don't go by train. It's more expensive. Here, cheaper and more expensive are comparative forms. After comparatives, we use than. For example, it's cheaper to go by car than to go by train. We use for the comparative of short adjectives and adverbs. For example, cheap, cheaper, hard, harder, large, larger. Example sentences: this jacket is too small. I need a larger size. Diana works harder than most of your friends. We prefer with some two-syllable adjectives, especially adjectives ending in y. For example, lucky, luckier, funny, funnier, easy, easier. Example sentence: the examination was easier than we expected. We use more, not for other two-syllable adjectives and the longer adjectives. For example, more modern, more expensive, more comfortable. More expensive hotels are usually more comfortable than cheaper ones. We also use more for adverbs which end in ly. For example, more slowly, more carefully, more seriously. For example, could you speak more slowly, please? We also say more often. For example, I don't play tennis much now. I used to play more often. Before the comparative of adjectives and adverbs, you can use a bit, a little, much, a lot, far. For example, let's go by car. It's much cheaper. Here, instead of much, you can use a lot. Don't go by train. It's much more expensive. Here, instead of much, you can use a lot. Anne works a lot harder than most of your friends. Here, instead of a lot, you can use much. Could you speak a bit more slowly? Here, instead of a bit, you can use a little. Your illness was far more serious than we at first thought. Some adjectives and adverbs have irregular comparative forms. For example, good, well, better. The garden looks better since you tidied it up. Or another example, bad, badly, worse. The situation was much worse than we expected. Far, further, or farther. For example, I am very tired, I can't walk much further. Or here you can use much farther. Further, but not farther, can also mean more or additional. For example, let me know immediately if you have any further news. It means any more news. Note the comparative words more and less. For example, I smoke more than I used to. We have got less time than I thought. Sometimes you can use two comparatives together. For example, harder and harder, more and more difficult. We use this structure to say that something is changing continuously. For example, it's becoming harder and harder to find a job. Your English is improving. It's getting better and better. It's becoming more and more difficult to find a job. These days, more and more people are learning English. We also use the with two comparatives to say that one thing depends on another thing. For example, the more you have, the more you want. We can also use not as in comparative situation. Study this example situation. Joe, Henry, and Nick are all millionaires. They are all very rich. Joe has 5 million, Henry has 4 million, and Nick has 2 million. So, Henry is rich. He is richer than Nick, but he isn't as rich as Joe. It means Joe is richer than he is. You can also say not so as instead of not as. For example, Henry isn't so rich as Joe. You can also use as but not so as and in a positive sentences and in questions. For example, I am sorry, I am late. I got here as fast as I could. Can you send me the money as soon as possible, please? After then and as, it's more usual to say me, him, her, them, us when there is no verb. Compare these sentences. You are taller than I am. Here, you can say you are taller than me. They have more money than we have. But here, you can say they have more money than us. I can't run as fast as he can. But here you can say, I can't run as fast as him. Look at these examples. What is the longest river in the world? What was the most enjoyable holiday you have ever had? Here, longest and most enjoyable are superlative forms. We use est or most to form the superlative of adjectives and adverbs. In general, we use ist for the shorter words and the most for longer words. For example, long, longest, hot, hottest, hard, hardest. But most famous, most difficult, most expensive, most boring. After superlatives, we use in with places, with town, buildings, and etc. For example, what's the longest river in the world? Not of the world. Also the West. In the class, in the team, in the company, etc. But you can say the happiest day of my life, the hottest day of the year. Note that we often use the present perfect I have done after a superlative. For example, what's the best film you have ever seen? We sometimes use most plus adjective without the to mean very. For example, the book you lent me was most interesting. It means very interesting. Dear students, let's listen songs with examples of comparatives and superlatives. And let's to relax.
Ooh, 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 and I'm feeling good. I know I can treat you better, better than he can. You're simply the best, better than all the rest. For better or for worse, before I make the mistake, before I lead with the worst of me.
I think it was understandable for you. Or have you any questions about this topic? Okay, if you don't have any questions, let's do some tasks. Here, I have prepared worksheets for you and I'll give you. And here you have got several tasks. Look here. In the first task, you should choose the correct words and complete each sentence. In the second task, you should choose the correct adjective and complete each sentence. In the third task, you should complete each sentence using the correct comparative or superlative. Look at the next. Here in this task, you should complete the sentences with the correct form of the adjectives. And in the last task, you should complete the sentences with the correct form of the adverbs. Is it clear for you, my dears? Okay, you have 15 minutes for doing these tasks, and then we will check it together. Let's do it. Have you finished? Okay, let's check it together. Who will read the first? Dear students, I hope today's lesson was useful for you and your home task for the next lesson. I have prepared here worksheets for you and I'll give you. And here you have got 2 texts for reading. You should read these texts and translate, and then you should find superlative and comparative adjectives or adverbs from these texts. And in the second task, you should answer the questions according to the text. Is it clear for you? Okay, my dears, our lesson is over. Goodbye. See you soon.